Alright, hell yeah. So we're going to go over R1 design, and the brainstorming process is so good because there's no reason to waste a lot of time. One thing though, I don't want to get, like put this off, so I want to keep plugging. But anyway, I think this design is actually old hat. Well, I don't know. But anyway, this is kind of what I'm getting at in my last video, is that when I'm sitting onto this tube and I'm trying to get the boat out of the water like this, the only reason I'm doing this is because it effectively reduces drag. And so I can paddle it faster when the boat's out of the water. There is no difference, and I really have to get it to quite a large edge angle. And because my boat's a rounded surface, I'm able to get this up. And it seems like that's a convenience. And what I'm going to say is it's not. If we look at this surface, that's the surface that I want to employ with my new design. But I want to put that surface more flat to the water. And so with this, we can use the entire width of the boat. And, even if this was the upside down portion, this would be your runner. And what I really want to do is I want to have this portion angled out of the water. So let's say this was the bottom of the boat. This is your typical paddle cat. Both tubes are engaged and you have like a track in the middle, and those are your two contact points. And a paddle cat is just a lot of drag. And it's very convenient in R1 if you can get over onto a tube and release that other tube out of the water. So there can be a design where when you sit onto this tube, if you're sitting over here on this flat tube, and I kind of wish, let's pop out a book, see what we got. Alright, hell yeah. So let's say, and let's go this way. So let's say I'm sitting on this outer tube. Well, guess what? I put pressure there. The boat's really not, this doesn't need anything to support itself. Compared to if I'm like right here, this is kind of unstable, but if I'm over here, look at this high edge angle that you need just to even get the boat to be in a stable edged position. Where over here, you can just have a flat surface, and this doesn't have to be in contact with the water. And so I don't have any other foam, but what I'm saying is that you want the bottom of the boat to be two kayaks, one that you're on, and then the other swept up. So that's what we're going to have. This one's going to be flat, and the other one isn't in the water. And if it's raised up, then, that's symmetrically not symmetric. So what we do is we angle it this way. So I'm going to, if this is the plane of those two surfaces, I am going to raise this up, but then angle it over. And so that will be, kind of how it will be. And then potentially have a gap in the middle for water drainage, and then covered with a screen of some sort. But hell yeah, if I get over onto this edge, this one goes flat, and then this one comes up. And so, hell yeah. And even like tonight, I just want to make this little video just to share that is a very good concept, taking this, because this boat's highly unstable. It's rounded and it just wants to flip over. By the time you actually get over onto your edge, gravity is not helping you here. This thing's just already ready to tip over, where you want this surface to be just about like that, like just off the water. And maybe you want to choose the angle where you're like, hey, I actually like that angle, so I want to take those two surfaces and kind of adjust where they are in the water. And that can be done with an adjustable pivot. And because that pivot's going to be the most demanding structurally, you might as well have it be adjustable, because you probably do need some strength from some structural members, whether they're like a frame, like an aluminum frame, like framed rafts. But I definitely want to still keep the cockpit, you know what I mean? So even from yesterday's video of having two like playboat kayaks, or two, slalom kayaks, that have this angled edge, I still want the cockpit to be kind of this surface where you can, you know, push up against the front, push up against the back, and kind of move in this square rectangle. Very tradish when it comes to that. And then even, you know, if you do have pointed nose, kind of talking about having a surface up here and back here, even though this isn't touching the water at all, you know, a surface to jump to. And for sure, towards the back, these can be elevated as well. And I'm thinking that the boat, if it's going to be 10 feet as well, just watching some footage from some of the R1ers that are crushing it, the 10-foot length in holes still has the same, you know, it can overtop itself and pretty easily. And so having these, I definitely like the idea of having, like, whatever you have on the surface, you know, if it's those two kayaks or like this, whether it's a playboat or wider. And even if you'd had those two kayaks, I mean, that's a totally different design than this. This is pushing out your floor, and then, you know, this tube in a traditional R1, you know, would come out to here pretty flush. But yeah, so this design in particular is way high. It's probably too high of an edge angle, and probably not worth it. And that's where it's just like this alternative design is like, hey, I can be all the way on this tube and get this up to an angle just for my neutral sitting position. I just want to be sitting neutral and have this up. And then I could even have this shape on top of, you know, what I talked about kind of the other day, or this design where you have still a secondary stability. Here's your normal position, and when you go to the other side, you know, you're kind of doing this. And then this cockpit would be V'd, however that would work out, just because if you are sitting over here, you'd want a flush flat surface. I think that's going to feel more natural, and then if you're tipped this way, you want that surface to be flushed. So this cockpit would be dished like this, kind of in that direction. Yes, and then having kind of pontoons, whether they're pointed pontoons at the front and back, I really do think you want them highly swept up. You know, like not stabbing, but swept up. So if you ever do get, what I've seen, just even kind of waterfall footage, if people are going over a waterfall, this is plugging, but it at least helps you see how this hits, and then this didn't hit, and then it'll pull you forward when those R1ers are dropping those waterfalls. Compared to if you just hit this, you know, you're just going to be a log going right in. And so you can even accentuate this by having these, instead of this hitting right here, it's already hitting out there just by this sweeping out. So if I had two of these, this would, you know, you drop in a waterfall, and if this is swept out at that angle, then it would engage. You know, there's going to be a place in there that makes it not practical, but definitely having those be higher. Alright, so I think I'm done with this, but hell yeah. And then maybe I'll get some motivation to start foaming out some of these designs. Booyah.